Hello there, people of the internet. So, I was doing some reloading the other day, and I came across something very interesting. I've got a bunch of just old stuff that I use as components and whatnot, and I found something that I've never seen before. I got myself two different sizes of projectiles, and we have ourselves this right here. This is a 150 grain projectile. This is a 308 diameter. And we got this right here. This is also a 308 diameter, but you can see that this one right here is quite a deal longer than this one right here. That being said, this longer, larger one is the exact same weight as this smaller one. I know I said 150 grain. Technically, they both came out at exactly 147 grain. So I guess not 150 grain. But both of these rounds are 147 grain projectiles. So how is this possible whenever we have ourselves a smaller round and a larger round? Normally, whenever you think of the larger round, you would think that a round would be larger in order to add more weight to the projectile. So whenever that projectile hits whatever target it is it's going to hit, it transmits more energy onto said target simply because there's more bullet there. Not only that, but if you have a longer, heavier weight bullet, then you would have a higher BC bullet for better accuracy at long ranges, simply because of that additional mass adding onto the projectile and allowing it to maintain its velocity better, because the friction in the air won't slow it down as much. However, in this particular case, we have bullets of different sizes, dramatically different sizes. Like this one right here is probably another ½ centimeter longer than this one, but they're the same weight. So that really leads me to question myself how, what, and why. So normally with your longer bullets, people typically lean towards longer, heavier bullets so they get better capabilities out at long range. Well, if you have the same weight bullet, then having a longer bullet doesn't give you better inherent long-range accuracy because you have a better BC bullet. As a matter of fact, this right here would actually decrease your accuracy simply because there's more surface area of the bullet for wind to be able to affect. If you have two projectiles of equal weight, then they're going to be essentially the same, they're going to have the same levels of velocity reduction, with lack of better terminology, assuming that they're going out to the same range. Because of, well, they each have the same amount of mass, and they each have the same levels of friction on the air. The longer bullet might have slightly more friction, so it might slow down slightly more, but I doubt we would see any real significant difference between the two. However, with this extra centimeter of mass, or this extra ½ centimeter of mass on this projectile, it very much would get blown around significantly more by wind, especially as we go out to farther and farther ranges. So why? Why longer bullets like this if they're going to be the same weights as what we have seen in your smaller bullets? Well, I guess it comes down to what the projectile itself is actually made out of. So this one right here is actually surplus French ammunition, and this right here is a lead core projectile, and this one right here, I do not know if this is lead core or something else. I believe it is something else, because the size of this projectile, I know for a fact this one's lead core, the size of this projectile, if this was lead core that had the same lead density as this one, it would have to be this size to match the weight. But clearly, whatever material is inside of the core of this projectile is less dense, has less matter in the same area as lead, so it's going to be less dense than lead, so you would need more matter in a wider area in order to match the same weight as your 150 grain. So what could be the logic behind that? Well, probably the most inherent logic is the fact that whoever made this, I have no idea where this round came from, whoever made this likely used whatever material was around. Like, for example, if you had like an alloy core or a steel core or something like that, it would have a different density and therefore a different weight for the same size. Like if you had steel core bullets, it would be a different weight if you had the same size bullet as a lead core. So in order to achieve the same weight, they would have to be different sizes. Or potentially, this right here might have some sort of compound inside of it, might have some sort of penetrating core, maybe a tungsten or titanium, something that is lighter weight than lead, and so as a result, you would need a larger projectile in order to achieve that same weight. So there's a couple of reasons as to why that would happen. Same weight bullet, just different sizes, and I have absolutely zero idea what the internal material of this round is that would allow it to be so much larger, like dramatically larger than the round, than the normal lead core ball round. It just absolutely blew my mind whenever I saw these things, and I weighed them up, and I was expecting like a 180 grain projectile or something like that, and then they weighed up to be the same weight. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. So, yeah, if there's something inside of this round, such as a compound or penetrator or something like that, that would make sense, because I imagine that would be a lot lighter and a lot less dense than a lead core round. Or if this right here was just like a cheaper, less dense material and more readily available for whatever country made this than the lead that was made by the French, that would also make sense. So this is a completely new concept for me. I don't like, I'm going to have to play around with this right here. I've got a couple of those heavier rounds, or those larger rounds, not heavier rounds. I'm just so used to larger rounds being heavier. I've got a couple of those larger rounds that I'm going to kind of do some experimentation with, but I want to go ahead and test this out. I got a couple of rounds right here. These right here are hand-loaded with 4064. And in one of these, I have the, which one? In this one right here, I have the smaller projectile, and in this one right here, I have the larger projectile. These have been weighed out and trimmed, and they have the exact same amount of gunpowder inside of them because they're each an equal weight projectile. I just want to see how it feels to shoot each of these rounds. So that's kind of what I'm out here to do. I want to see if there's any difference in feeling behind the two rounds, any difference in sound, any difference in, well, I don't really have a good target out here to see effect on target, but I just want to see what sort of situation it is that we're dealing with here. And I want to see the effectiveness of these cartridges, just how effective they feel, how effective they sound. Yeah, like this is a new concept for me, and this is exciting, because now I'm like, all right, if I can have larger bullets that seem to have more effect on target than the smaller bullets, even though they weigh the same, so maybe the recoil impulse is going to be the same, that would be a game changer. That would be phenomenal, actually. Okay, we're going to do the lighter bullet first, or the smaller bullet first, and then move on to the heavier bullet. So this one right here is the 147 grain, and the one underneath is the 147 grain. We got the small one first and the larger one on top. I'm just going to go ahead and send around. I can kind of see my steel through the bushes there. You guys probably can't, but I'm going to take aim at that steel target. Let me make sure my sight is properly zeroed. Take aim at my steel target, pull the trigger, see how that feels. All right, yep, that small round really did feel like just a regular old 7.62 NATO round. And I did have a little bit of pressure sticking with the round, and we do have a little bit of primer bulge there on the bottom. So this right here was the smaller round. Let's go ahead and move on to our larger round here. And same weight bullet. Now, the pressure sticking could be a result of there being different volumes inside of the actual case itself, because the larger bullet would take up more space inside of the case. So although the weights are the same and the powder amount is the same, that volume could have caused a slightly larger increase in pressure, and so as a result we got ourselves a little bit of a pressure sticking. So now this right here is the larger round. Let me send this one downrange and see. All right, okay. Despite the fact that they basically weighed the same, this one right here felt like it had more recoil. I'll have to go and I'll have to re-listen to the sound on camera, because with these right here, they sounded not exactly unidentical. This one did not pressure stick at all, and we have no bulging or anything on the primer. So I'm willing to bet that because of the volume of the inside of the case, that is why we had issues with pressure sticking on the last one. Because, yeah, we got the small round, same gunpowder because they're the same bullet weight. Small round had a little bit of pressure sticking. Large round had no pressure sticking whatsoever and no bulged case. Or no bulged primer. I keep saying bulged case. Very interesting, very fascinating. I am absolutely fascinated by that. Okay, cool. That is really cool, actually. That is really, really cool, actually. I'm learning so much just from this little piece of experimentation, and I hope that you guys learned something as well. So for the smaller rounds, even though they are the same weight, I should probably dial back the powder charge, 2 grains or so, and we'll go ahead and test that and see how that goes. But I'll go ahead and experiment with that on my own time. I don't want you guys just out here watching me experimenting with hand loads. I just wanted to go ahead and show off these rounds. And just my fascination behind them, I think I might have found a new hobby, finding all sorts of different kinds of projectiles and trying to figure out the best way to send them downrange. If I line up the backs of these like that, you can see just how much longer this one is than this one. Like I said, that's probably about half a centimeter or so, just because the internals must be less dense. Fascinating. Really cool. That is some cool stuff. Anyway, folks, I think I've wasted your time long enough. Now I'm just like nerding out over these. I'm going to go ahead and try a couple of different things, see what works for me, experiment a little bit, weigh out some other projectiles that I have, and I'll go ahead and do that off camera. That'll be my own time whenever I'm sipping whiskey and watching the day go on or the night go on. It is getting a little late, I guess. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.